There are thousands of stories to be told about our local military veterans. Folks here on the Delmarva Peninsula have been signing up to defend our country since the Revolutionary times.
Yeah, one of those stories concerns a Civil War era journey one man took that is full of twists and turns, and Jim Duffy of Secrets of the Eastern Shore is here to share this afternoon. The man's name is Harry Jarvis.
Harry Jarvis.
Yeah.
It is.
So let's start these twists and turns.
Yes. He grew up in Northampton County. What we know about Harry Jarvis comes from an interview he gave as an old man late in life. And the guy who was interviewing him was going around the country trying to interview former slaves before they died. So it was like the 1920s or something like that. That's where Harry Jarvis told his story. And he said that he was owned by the meanest man on the Eastern Shore. And then he added, and that's saying something because it was a mean place.
Ooh.
All right? Things kind of came to a head for him the day his owner took a shot at him.
Literally.
He decided that was the last straw. And he ran off into the woods. And he stayed there for like 3 weeks. He heard that his owner was throwing a big birthday party. He realized that everyone would be drunk that night and hungover the next morning. So he said, this is my opportunity. And he stole a boat and got on the Chesapeake Bay, somewhere down by Cape Charles, and started sailing across to the western shore of Virginia, which is a super odd place to sail to since it's the heart of the Confederacy, right?
Yeah.
Except for one little corner, Fort Monroe by Hampton, always stayed under Union control. So he gets in this boat and he starts to sail and the weather's terrible. And as an old man, he just recalls, I just said, dear Lord, take care of me. And the wind just calmed down perfectly, took him right to Fort Monroe. But he's still in trouble. If his owner came to Fort Monroe, the soldiers at Fort Monroe had to give him back.
Okay.
So he understands all this, and he says to this General Butler guy, he says, why don't you just give me a uniform and a gun and I'll fight with you. And General Butler says, there was no U.S. colored troops at this point yet. They hadn't done it yet. And General Butler says, this is not a black man's war. And Harry Jarvis recalls looking at General Butler and saying, it's going to be a black man's war before it's done.
Ooh.
Oh my, oh my.
He escapes from Fort Monroe by signing up on a merchant marine ship. He goes to Liberia, he goes to Cuba, he goes all over. 2 years later, he lands in Boston. And they are forming the 54th Massachusetts Regiment. You've seen the movie Glory with
Right.
Denzel Washington,
Yeah.
that whole group.
Okay.
So he comes back and he is indeed correct. It is a black man's war. He tries to sign up for the 54th. They are full up. He ends up in the 55th. They are assigned all over the South Carolina, Florida, and everything. He ends up in this battle at a place called Folly Hill near Hilton Head, suffers 1 injury, 2 injuries, 3 injuries, then takes a bullet in the leg that disables him. He says he would have died if his fellow soldiers hadn't stopped to tie a tourniquet and do whatever they could do on the battlefield. A couple of years later, that wound reopens. He ends up losing his leg.
Oh.
So he's now a one-legged guy. He was a very old man by the time that he was interviewed, and they lived in Hampton during that time. And the other great thing about the interview, at the end, the interviewer asks him if he's forgiven that master who was so mean to him. And Harry Jarvis, it's kind of like almost like a stand-up comedian line to read it. Harry Jarvis says, yep, I forgive him. The Lord knows I forgive him. Dot, dot, dot. But the Lord also knows that I'd give my other leg to meet him in battle today. He was a character.
Sounds
If,
like
if you guys could do time machine shows, you should have him.
Okay.
You should have him
Him
right
here.
here. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Another great story.
Wow.
Jim Duffy, Secrets of the Eastern Shore. Thank you so much.
It's
Harry
great.
Jarvis.